Do you want to capture amazing sports photos but don't really want to spend thousands of dollars on camera gear? What if I told you that you could do this all straight from the phone in your pocket? A phone? Oh yeah. In this video, I'll teach you all the basics that you need to know in order to start going and taking great action sports photos straight from your phone. Also, be sure to stay to the end of the video because at the end, I have a free gift for you. Okay, so first let's start off with the settings that you should have enabled before you get started. Now, I'm going to be using an iPhone for this example, but all these camera settings should be pretty universal across all phone manufacturers. Okay, so there are four main things that you'll want to have enabled before going out into the field. You'll want to have enabled your burst mode, exposure adjustment, full res quality, and grid lines. I'll quickly run you through how to enable each of these and as well how they work while you're taking photos. Okay, so when you go into your settings, you're going to see where it says camera here. And now you're going to see use volume up for burst. And if that's disabled, then enable that. And what that's going to allow you to do is when you hit the volume up button on your phone, it's going to allow you to capture the most amount of frames that your phone can capture. Okay, so now when I go into the photo app, you're going to see where you have just one specific picture. And you might be wondering, okay, where did all the photos go? You're going to see at the top it says burst and it's going to say 7 photos for me. So I'm going to go to select. And now if I scroll through at the bottom, I can see all the different photos. And let's say I want to select this one, and this one. So just 3 images here. I'm going to hit done. Now you can see it says keep everything or keep only 3 favorites. Now what I'm going to do, for example, if I were out in the field, I'm going to keep everything. And the reason why I want to do that is because if I were to get rid of some photo and I don't know exactly if that photo is underexposed or overexposed, you know, it's hard to judge in the field, then I might lose that photo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit keep everything. Now I have this series of the 7 images as well as the 3 that were brought in individually. Okay, so next we're going to be enabling our exposure adjustment. So to find the exposure adjustment, you're going to go back to your settings and then go to camera, and under preserve settings, it says exposure adjustment. So if that's disabled, enable that, and then I'll show you exactly what that does in your camera app. So we click into the camera app here, and now at the top, if we click that top, you're going to see this bar at the bottom that shows up. And what I can do is I can fully lower that or I can raise that up. And this is nice because it keeps nice hard stops. But for example, let's say you tap on the screen, you're going to see this light meter. You can drag your thumb down on the sun or up, and that's going to be a quick adjustment. If you were to turn your phone to the right or to the left, it's basically going to reset. This is just to click on a specific subject or area, and this is going to be a quick light adjustment. But at the top, those bars of the exposure are going to be your hard stops, and that will stay consistent. So most generally, when you're shooting in a certain environment, I would recommend just to use those hard stops. Okay, so now when it comes to achieving the highest quality image possible, you're going to go back to your settings, back under camera, and at the top, you're going to see this formats. So I'm going to click on that. And for me, I have an older phone. I have an 11 Pro, and I know that most of the newer phones shoot RAW. Mine doesn't. But I'll show you exactly what I'm using even though mine doesn't shoot RAW. I would definitely recommend, if your camera does shoot RAW, to shoot RAW because it gives you so much more dynamic range in your images to edit those photos even better. And so I would definitely recommend that you use RAW, but also make sure to shut RAW off when you're not taking your professional photos or photos that you really want to edit, because RAW takes up a lot of storage and a lot of data. So I would recommend that you turn it off, but then turn it back on when you want to take a photo that you really want to edit and dive into with an edit. But for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit most compatible. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because that's going to give me a JPEG image. Now be aware that if you switch over into video mode and you take a video and your settings are 4K 60p, what's going to happen is your camera is going to switch over into high efficiency mode. And so you're going to have to manually go back, turn it into most compatible, and that's going to give you the highest photo settings. Now the last thing is grid. And under settings, under camera, you guys know the drill. You're gonna see this part that says composition, and under composition, you're gonna see grid. So when we go into the camera app here, now we can see that there's grid lines on the camera here. It's really great for composition purposes, so I would recommend turning on the grid, and you're gonna see these grid lines It's really handy to have, especially when you're out in the field. So now that these settings are active, there's still some really important things to consider in order to achieve the best action shots. The first thing that we need to consider when using a phone is lighting. There are many different ways to shape your lighting and different techniques, but to make this super straightforward so that you can get out into the field instantly and start taking great shots, I'm going to give you the most effective lighting technique that I use all the time. The best lighting to ensure that you avoid harsh, nasty shadows is backlighting your subjects. This means having the sun directly in behind your subject. Not only do I like this technique because it avoids that harsh light, it also allows you to pull a really clean subject selection mask in Lightroom. When you don't have to worry about adjusting for both those shadows and those really bright highlights on your subject, then it really allows you to bring up your exposure and really make your subject pop without having to worry about overexposing certain highlights on your subject. But one thing to really be aware of when you're backlighting your subject is not to have the sun too far away from your subject. This can cause your viewer to get distracted from the main focal point, which is your subject, because the eye is more attracted to the brighter parts of a scene. So we don't want to have our sun up in the top right, top left, too far away from our subject. We want to have our sun as close as possible to the subject. A viewer is going to resonate with our image a lot more when they don't have to guess where they should be looking. The next thing involved to achieve great action shots is the angles that you use. I have a video specifically dedicated to the 8 most common camera angles that I think every photographer should know. But to keep things simple and straightforward, I have 3 main camera angles that I'm using all the time: a low angle, a medium angle, and a high angle. By capturing these 3 main angles, you'll ensure that you'll have enough variety to share what your day was like in a really engaging way. I personally love using a low angle because it shows speed, aggression, and power. The medium angle is more of a relatable angle because it's what we see on a daily basis, because that's our eye line. So using this angle, I like to shoot things like the rider gearing up, their process, lunch break, and any other simple moments that I want my viewer to connect with. This is going to help my athlete feel more real and human in the eyes of a viewer rather than just some random athlete. The higher angles are super great to showcase the environment that you were in. I've noticed that when using a wide angle lens and being at a high vantage point, it almost starts to look like it's a drone angle. This helps create so much interest in your photo sets, and I also believe that it helps to separate your photos from others online. So with combining the perfect lighting in these 3 main camera angles, you'll be able to walk away with crisp, clean shots that will engage your audience. Okay, so my gift to you is a series of cheat sheets that I created so that you can take these out into the field, so that if you completely forget everything that I said today, you'll quickly be able to pull up these references on your phone and know exactly what to do. In these cheat sheets, I covered more topics than what I even shared on this video today, like how to communicate with your athlete, what makes up a great photo, storytelling techniques, and more. It's all put into the simplest terms possible so that you can be out shooting, look at these references, and instantly apply that into your photos. So whether you're an athlete or a beginner photographer just looking to get into action sports, these are great references that you can use to elevate your images instantly. You can find the link to these cheat sheets in the description below. Alrighty, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace.